Alex, you spent time in Ring of Honor in that exciting time. You were down there with Punk and the Gabe years, if you
Yep.
will, when it first started to make waves. Was it exciting for you? I mean, you were so young. It must have been thrilling for you at that young age to be part of something that was actually starting to show up nationally from a
Yeah,
regional promotion. Yeah.
definitely. So like I was, as far as like that generation goes, I was on the younger end of it, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of the guys that worked with Kevin TNA, we all worked in Ring of Honor at some point, but I was regular. I was on every Ring of Honor show for quite a while. And Punk was the one who actually got me my job over there. So he's a guy who, like, my career would not be the same without CM Punk. I know a lot of people have their experiences with him, but to me, he's always been above and beyond awesome. Like, he's helped me immensely many, many times in my career. And when I got there, we worked our way up from the undercard, but it was so cool to be a part of something that was kind of like a punk rock pro wrestling show. And the fans were so into everything. And you just saw that, wow, man, there's some like really cool shit happening here. But at the time, too, it was such a what if? Like, is this actually going to take off? Or like, are bigger companies actually going to bite on this? Because there was such a separation of church and state, right? Like, here's your money making companies, and then off on the other side's Ring of Honor. And I knew we were onto something because, again, I was working for both companies, but another mentor of mine who, again, has helped me out a ton, been very blessed to have so many of them, was Conan. And Conan has seen a lot of different things in the pro wrestling industry. He was the one who would actually ask me to get him Ring of Honor DVDs. So I'd bring him just stacks of DVDs. He loves wrestling, loves Ring of Honor, wants to absorb as much of it as possible. And he said, yo, Shelley, watch every year from here on out, wrestling is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Like, you're not going to have these super heavyweights anymore. It's not going to be a business where guys has to be a mandatory 6'2", 6'3", 250. And was right about that. But at the same time, I think, again, like kind of going back to that Scott Hall reference earlier, I would kill to have some of these guys who are like that too, right? Like, because wrestling should be all shapes and sizes. And a lot of times being larger than life can be done quite easily if you're physically larger than life. And they just having that characterization or the looks, like the Diesels, the Razor Ramones, the Shawn Michaels, the Bret Harts, the 1, 2, 3 kids. Like, I think those were just like the coolest characters. Like, I miss that about wrestling. Whereas now you can get away with being a good wrestler, at least to a certain extent.
Mm. James, you had something for Kevin too, didn't you?
I just have to say that my opinion of CM Punk was greatly influenced and changed by the fact that Alex put him over.
Yep. He
So
was,
no, absolutely serious.
yeah. I mean, I
I
appreciate
mean,
that.
but I appreciate your opinion enough to that would because you know him and I really don't. I just you know I kind of
Well,
I
it's
kind of I kind of grazed by him like that first shot out of Oswald's fucking rifle.
well, I mean, it's fine to say he helped his career. That's great. I don't know. I don't know, Alex. Would you ever want to be the booker on the? You would have be on the other end of a CM Punk negotiation.
Oh shoot, man! It's like, there's two sides to every story, and some third side's what's actually happened. It's none of my business. I really don't hate to say it this way. I don't give a shit. Like, what happened in that company with any of those parties, as long as everybody's okay, and they are. But I can just say that he went out of his way to help me at a time when he didn't have to. And despite what people's reputations might be, you treat people as who they show up as
Mm-hmm.
when they're in the moment. Like, Kevin was the same way too. It's like intimidating working with Kevin Nash in 2006. And a lot of things are said about this guy who was in WCW when it closed down, and the Kliq and all this shit. And I went in thinking, like, fuck that. I don't care. I just want to treat the guy the way he's going to treat me, which was awesome from the get-go, and learn as much as possible from. And I did. I was so fortunate to have that experience. Who cares?
Very good. Very good. James, what did you have for Kevin? I cut you off before.
Nah, that's all good, Sean. So back to just asking about just like random matches that like you're like, man, that actually happened. So Kev, this one for you. So Turning Point 2004, with you and Scott Hall and Jeff Jarrett against freaking AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and Macho Man. what's the backstory on that? And just like that's up there with just like a match you look at. It seems like a video game like randomly generated that match.
Is that the one that Randy came out like with a new look?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember Barry Bloom calling me after that match and saying, "I watched the match tonight." He goes, the guy that with the beard," he says, "I think that was my rabbi." He called Randy because remember Randy was like about $190 back then.
He was.
He
Yeah.
wasn't. He was not that big, you know. He wasn't Bone Crusher, whatever the fuck.
Yeah. I remember he had that duster too. You remember that black duster he wore backstage? Oh my
Yeah.
God. He was wearing that shit in like September in Orlando. It's like 110% humidity, and it's like he's just dying in there. I thought, oh man, wow. This guy's tough as shit.
Remember Brian Adams was with them, Crush. And Brian was trying to break into pro boxing. And it's just was one of those fucking times where, especially at TNA, where just the waves that came in, you know, like a wave would come in and you'd be like, you'd almost like wake up like and get your metal detector just to see what the fuck washed up that next, you know, that night before, you know.
It was like that for
after that. Yeah, it was it. Yeah,
what?
And I think that's part of as close as wrestling has ever been to like the NCAA portal, where you can just kind of go wherever the fuck you want to now. Like that's kind of where we're at. Where before, man, you signed that fucking Titan contract, your ass would. I mean, you were doing 3 years of hard fucking time.
Right.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter what the fucking. If you didn't like it, man, your guarantee was $1,500 a fucking year.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
All right.